Hello and welcome here in LATOKEN Venture Capital TV. My name is Javier. I will be your host for today. And like every session, we bring you the innovation, technology, and solutions you want to hear about. And you get it to hear directly from the CEOs or the co-founders of the projects. And the best part, you are able to make questions live. So in the chat box, please remember, put there the question or comments and we're going to address them. Before we move on to the interview, as a reminder, I would like you to remember that you can always see our shows by visiting token.com/VCTV/shows. Also, follow us on socials like Facebook and Twitter. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you always can get informed of great content opportunities and even giveaways. One final reminder, please, anything mentioned here is not any type of financial advice. Do your research before making any decisions. Is your choices and your responsibility. With that said, I would like to introduce a very great project that we have. It is Strongnode, represented by the co-founder and CEO of Strongnode, Mr. Daniel Saito. Daniel, welcome. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Javier. And thank you. Hello from Tokyo.
Oh, great, fantastic. Thank you. Must be late there, but great to great to have you here.
It's always a pleasure.
Okay. Well, Daniel, we have a lot of questions prepared for you. And again, I'm sure our audience as well will have certain questions. But in order to start, I would like to ask you first if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and the team behind this project.
Sure. So I've been all my life since age 8 been working in technology. I built my first computer around age 8 and
Wow.
broke it in around age 9, and only to rebuild it again at soon after.
Okay.
But always been an entrepreneur at heart. So whether if it's always finding the heart of the hustle. So when I was a child, I would, it was we weren't well off when we were kids. Our family was lower middle class, not the higher middle class. As immigrants, it was always difficult. And if anything, one thing that we loved to do when we were as a family was go fishing. And but in order to go fishing, all the good fish would be more upper north. I was born in LA, so the good fish are more in the central area of above LA. And but in order to do that, it costs gas. And so the hustle, or the art of the hustle, was we actually had a yard, and with the yard, we there was a lemon tree. And I picked all the lemons off the tree and went door to door to sell lemons at age 8 or 9, and was able to sell enough lemons to pay for gas. And once we're at the beach, of course, we do all day of fishing. But one thing that we as a family were aware is that trash cans actually had aluminum cans that you could recycle. And so that taught us early the good sustainability in that sense. And so over the years, learning to be an entrepreneur and always learning the art of the hustle, we were always grown to adapt and always learned how to not only use technology, but be able to build businesses around that. And that's kind of what I've been always doing since at a young age. So um, whether if it was building computers for profit during the peace revolution, to creating a PBS so people can have a membership-based service of getting information off a four-line dial-in pull bulletin board system, from creating the first web pages that were graphic enhanced on Web 1.0, to building a browser at Netscape in the early days of the dot-com bubble. Then also creating an internet service provider in Tokyo, and only exit for about 50 million. From there, launched 2 rockets up into space before space was actually cool. And this was for launching satellites for News Corporation. It was a joint venture project for something called JSkyB, only to later acquire another satellite startup called Perfect TV to make something called Sky Perfect TV. And that was for broadcast television. After that was done, I went to the States to recreate an internet service provider, but also help design the Sega Dreamcast. and the Sega Dreamcast. I was the director of technology there, where I oversaw the architecture, design, and fixing several of the bugs with the actual physical hardware of the Dreamcast. And Dreamcast, interesting implementation is that it was the first console to actually have internet. And with that, we were the first players to actually have a console speak console to console, and we created an internet service provider from scratch. And we wanted to prove a thesis that gaming will require low latency, because in order, if you're playing Pac-Man to a cat and mouse type chase gaming game, it requires low latency because you need to be able to have that millisecond um, correction in regards to the usage. So with that, over time, I built technologies. Unfortunately, the Dreamcast had to be expired because we weren't delivering enough units out in volumes, and also
Hmm.
with the hardware and technical issues and the cost of manufacturing, we had to also sunset the project as well. But soon after, I found my way towards a company that did interactive television, and I was writing a lot of interactive TV apps back way when, mostly on the EchoStar platform and other satellite TV broadcasters. Won an Emmy, nominated and won an Emmy
Oh, wow.
for technical achievement with that, with our team. So I started getting the hack of it where, success is not done by yourself. It's actually done by teams. And with that, worked with a great team down at France Telecom to do research and development. And we researched and developed MPEG-4. And now that's the mainstay of all the video compression that we see on the internet. And we can do this live here.
Hmm.
So because of that. And after that, I went back to Japan and went back to R&D, and we did trusted mobile computing. And this was a joint venture project between NTT Docomo, Intel, and IBM. And we wanted to create what you call today in a mobile device the trusted enclave or the security enclave. And this is the device that keeps all your secrets. And basically, that was my deep dive venture into deep crypto. And this was before crypto was actually really cool. And it was, working with different crypto algorithms, Diffie-Hellman, and all that, and being able to find the best processes time versus what's available at the silicon level at that time that can run these elliptical encryption schemes and whatnot. So it didn't instill trust. And so over the time, I was working at NTT Docomo, writing a lot of patents and whatnot. And I came across this. I was logging all my error reports and all my studies and research in a database, which was called MySQL. And of course, MySQL was an early database. It was free and open source, therefore anyone could use it. But I was asking the right questions enough for them to say, "Hey, you want to work with us?" And I left NTT Docomo to work for a startup called MySQL. I was an early employee, and we launched the business from basically free open source software and figuring out how to make money off of something that's free. And
Hmm.
we were making money through OEM and licensing. Thereon after, we started making money through support. And we created a support subscription service, and that went very well. And we were able to grow from a $4 million business to a $1 billion exit. And
Wow.
we were able to do it within 6 years. And
Hmm.
we exited Sun Microsystems for $1 billion, only to be reacquired by Oracle for $7.5 billion. And after that, stayed for about a year, and then left to start another database company. And that database company was called SkySQL, which then acquired MariaDB, and that's where we created another fork of MySQL. And it's now probably the third well used database in the world, actually, now.
Hmm.
And MariaDB is about to go public on New York Stock Exchange this year, so that's also highly anticipated. And so it also, we worked with a lot of cloud providers back then, and we worked with a lot of Web 2.0 companies and using our database during MySQL and MariaDB, and worked with the likes of Facebook, Twitter, Wikipedia, and as they were our clients. And we worked with a lot of the successful startups in Japan, Asia, all throughout the world. And we had about wow, a long list of customers spanning a lot of enterprise web startups. And that's where we kind of help find each team member of who we're working with today. And so the first one is their CTO. Our CTO is the former co-writer and co-author of MariaDB database server. And so he is our CTO. He comes with a long length of expertise and knowledge around open source systems, whether they be Linux or open source database solutions. And we know how to architect solutions, mainly because that was our job when we were actually consulting companies like Facebook
Hmm.
and Twitter and doing architectural designs and query optimizations and being able to how to architect a packet to go faster. And so we did this for well over a decade, and over that time frame, we bumped into other people that helped compose our team. My VP, or actually, he was recently upgraded in status, is our CIO, Zavago Lee. I've known him since when we are in seventh grade,
Uh,
and so we go way back. And so at each key CXO level individual that we have on the team, we've known each other for at least a decade, at least a minimum of a decade, or we've worked with each other for a decade. And we've had successes and wins, of course, with equal to failure as well. But we've always worked together and we've always done enterprise ventures. And we thought we would tackle blockchain. And here we are with Strongnode.
Great, that's fantastic. Well, your CV is quite impressive, I must say. I was reviewing it on the website, and to our viewers, you can learn more about this project and the team behind it. There's a short bio about the top people in management. It's strongnode.io. You can have the link below there. So, yeah, definitely, Daniel, very impressive CV. Looks like you have a very strong team. And it's really cool that you know all the people for over 10 years. It's almost like all your friends came together to form this.
Yeah,
Now,
it's like the super group rock band, right? We finally get together to do another. The universe has given us the opportunity to work together again, so we're not
that's
gonna
great. So,
waste the opportunity.
as I understand, can we say that Strongnode is your first blockchain project?
No, actually, I've actually advised for several other blockchain
Okay.
projects. It was it was Bluezell, the Wax token. I at least during the 2017, 2016, and 2018, of course, worked with various blockchain companies and architecture or design of the actual software, their
Hmm.
open source policies, the technology actually behind it. And so whether it's actually writing the actual code behind it.
Yep.
So yeah, so I was one of those
Okay.
advisory dev folks in architecture and how things should be designed and whatnot.
Okay. Perfect. Thank
Our,
you. Now,
our,
if you,
C,
yep.
our CTO has also worked with the Ethereum Foundation and consulted with Consensus as well. So, I mean, our team has a diverse experience in the blockchain, but from an engineering perspective.
Oh, fantastic. Great to hear that. Now, if you allow me, I would like to share the webpage of
Sure.
Strongnode, so just that we can also have a little bit of a visual. And now let's move on to the market itself. And if I may quote from your website, it does say that Strongnode powers infrastructure as a service for the node economy. Now, can you please, for our viewers, explain what does infrastructure as a service mean?
And so what seen over the years, whether if it's from dial-up modems all the way down to fiber optic lines,
Hmm.
those are considered infrastructure. Whether if it's railroads and roads, that's infrastructure as well. But in this case, uh, we live in a new world, a new paradigm where we're not dial-up modems anymore. We're actually wireless now. And
Hmm.
if it's not on your mobile phone or if you're on Wi-Fi connectivity, the average consumer has around 2.5 digital devices on them or around them at any given point in time. Whether it's your computer, mobile phone, or tablet, you actually have a digital device. Whether if you're constantly using them to the fullest 100%, it's highly doubtful. You probably have a phone right now as well, Javier, that you're not using. And
Yeah.
so uh, that while you're not using it and it's charging, we can use those idle processes that's not being utilized at that given point in time, and use a process and compute called MapReduce. MapReduce takes a large data set and then does reduce of what is required, and it does that repetitiously until it comes from finds that actual data. And then this type of methodology in how we do data processing allows for the way how you can find uh, certain tags in COVID analysis, right? So you know what kind of tags to look in genome sequencing files, and you can actually then reduce that data set down until you find the actual that salt or that tag that allows you to identify what is what. And so we've created a system where it's similar to how we saw in the 1990s SETI at home and those type of implementations, but we're actually revisiting that with tokenomics. But in order to first be able to uh, get this, we need to create the roads for
Hmm.
the infrastructure. And so hence we are offering a network connectivity component, which is a VPN. So our solution is secure by design. So it will work within a sandbox, a trusted sandbox, and only within that sandbox, it will access your network when you're not using, of course, the network. It won't completely utilize the network and where you uses all your bandwidth at the same time and saturate it. If anything, it will just be able to take these certain packets and be able to. We want to be able to offer a DVPN, a decentralized VPN offering. So we want to be first able to enable our users to have privacy from the very beginning. So it's designed by security from default. So all communications is also secure by default through the use of VPN and through this trusted sandbox that we designed as well, that it runs and operates in. And
Okay.
so not only do you have a secure network connection, and also we use that little sandbox of an operating area in your computer where we can process certain data processing. So it receives a block, processes it, sends it back, and authenticates it, verifies it, and of course that you're renting your CPU resources or out to us. Of course, we pay you in Strongnode, and that's kind of the tokenomics and how things work. So we
Okay.
want
That
what we
makes sense.
wanted what we wanted to do is design a solution where it addresses kind of the universal base income UBI, which kind of inspired us during COVID, and we wanted to see if we can create a piece of technology that's more relevant and how because technology's caught up. And what we wanted to do is use the experience of what we've done so far and patch it all together in a super app where it allows you to have a solution that if you install and run and you rent your processes um, or your CPU cycles, it allows you to pay you. So if Airbnb is a hotel without any hotel rooms,
Mhm.
and if Uber is a taxi company without any cars, we are a tech we're at AWS without the computers.
Okay, because you're renting it from everybody else, right?
We are crowdsourcing all the processing and network connectivity.
Crowdsourcing it. Okay, that is great. That's fantastic. It's the first time that I hear that. So you must be the first company, the first project in the world doing this at the moment, right?
Well, I think people are addressing this space, I think, in a different way. And so, what we feel is that technology is caught up where everyone has around 2.5 digital devices. Broadband is prevalent, where you live in a world where there's 5G now. And I think this is the first app that would actually be relevant for 5G and that would be useful for 5G since you see your mobile phone costs already immediately around $1,000 out of the gate. How do you commoditize that cost, right? How do you absorb that cost? You never, unless you use your phone for something that helps you regain the value.
Yeah.
It's hard to do so. And we wanted to create a solution that if you at least, UBI is at least if you have something in whether it's technology or a network connection, there is a way that you can monetize, and hence this rental method of your spare resources is was introduced.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you are solving several problems here, but at the very beginning, when you wanted to form this project, at that time, what was the main problem that you foresaw and motivated you to get to start with it?
Well, one thing is that on a daily basis, the requirement for data is growing,
Hmm.
and the growth of and adoption of digital devices is massive, and it's growing by the day. But we also saw another trend recently, and mainly due to COVID and with the current war at place, is that supply chains is also halted, and hence silicon being able to produce silicon or process raw materials to do whatnot is limited. So what we have in our hands, in our possessions, or even in your desk drawer, are mobile phones or digital devices that are not well used that can be recycled, and you can actually have them running in the background, and perhaps, I mean, they're already, if any computers that are made post 1995, they're, or at least 1999, or at least 2000, they're actually eco-friendly. They have that little green label where it has,
Hmm.
how eco-friendly
Yeah.
and the power usages. And so we want to be able to take that model and be able to use your resources in that sense. And whether if it's, your computer's on standby, it's still powered. And the idea is, well, let's take advantage of that and keep and your computer on, or your mobile phone while it's charging. Why not have our processes running and you rent it out and make money on the side?
And one of, I guess, the condition is that the phone or the computer has to be on, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, got it. Now, a lot of our viewers might not be like very technologically knowledgeable. So I would ask you if you can, like in 1 or 2 minutes, summarize what the project is about uh, in a very plain language, so people who are not really technologically advanced can understand. Can you do that?
Sure. Most of servers right now, whether if you hit Microsoft.com or Facebook.com,
Hmm.
you hit a centralized point where it's owned by a corporation like Facebook or whatnot. And they eat up a lot of your data, and those also emit a lot of data at the same time. Whether if you are a YouTuber or whether if you are creating content, the thing is that you're emitting a lot of data,
Hmm.
and sometimes that data needs to be processed. Whether if it's going through CSV files and data analytics of seeing where your users are coming from or your demographics of users, or if you have a math homework as a university student that needs processing time to be able to process this, or if you are if you're a computer scientist and researching machine learning and machine language, we can actually do back end processes, anything that's batch related process, not real time OLTP. Um, we can do mostly batch-based processes, so things like, and probably 80% of legacy computing is all batch-based processes, whether it's running payroll or running reports or analytics or doing rendering. They're all done batch-based. A lot of it to do it real time is very expensive, and systems like Facebook and stuff like that, uh, the front end is done in real time, but most of the querying and caching is all batched, and that's how it's architected. So what we wanted to first do is be able to create a system that allows for batch processing as well as secure network connectivity, and to be able to also, while we're offering secure connections and batch processing, we also wanted to create a system where we can have low latency networks. And so if there are other partners that we work with, or if anyone wants to use our network, they can then use it for whether if it's hosting their network game, and so they can have low latency network gaming in that sense. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to create that infrastructure in this sense. It's a virtualized infrastructure, but where we can actually have all the routing already pre-programmed, and it can actually connect and be able to uh, have a decentralized model where uh, participants can work in peers, so as well as communicate with other places around the world with the proper routing or and the security on it as well. So you not only are getting the privacy, but you're also getting the low latency speed, and it also can, when you're not using your computer, it uses the CPU cycles, and you can actually earn money and be able to process data that is perhaps valuable to mankind, whether if it's helping find for COVID analysis, or be able to um, do search for aliens. The thing is that there's a lot of data sets out there that needs to be processed for those. With that said, uh, as data is growing every day, uh, the cost of processing data is increasing because of the shortage of silicon. And so the supply and demand, the demand is that data is growing, but there's a lot less supply of silicon to help process this. And the cabals like Amazon, Microsoft, and Oracle, they have data farms and processes, AWS and Azure and GCP. They can basically have that monopoly of being able to price compute as needed. As the demand grows higher and higher, they can actually increase the price of how much data is processed. And we wanted to disrupt this model where the power is now in the hands of the consumers through ordinary devices.
Okay, that makes sense. And a key part of this is also the token, right? I believe it's called Edge. Now, how does the token get involved in the whole project and the ecosystem?
The token is actually SNE, not Edge.
Okay, sorry.
And so, yes, our ticker sign is SNE, and the emissions from actually whether it's staking your uptime to giving your computes while they're idle, you get if you process a block and verify it, as well as uh, able to do that map reduce, we will then pay you for that processing, for that time that we spent on your computer. And then the emissions will be given to you in Strongnode tokens, which is SNE.
Is there a rate that you have? Like,
We're working out the economics of this right now, and that will be released. The actual binaries, at least for DVPN, will be released, I would like to say, probably early summer. And so this is our next release that we'll be having, where we can have a public use of our tokens, and where you can also stake not only your uptime, so you can get more of an incremental increase of the emissions, but we're also working and playing different economics of what is the emissions of being able to uh, provide your network connectivity. And so we're working on different models, and we're back testing it at this current time just to make sure it makes sense. And of course, that it's within the bounds of security and the usage, so no one can game it, as well as attack it in some other form or fashion as well.
okay, great. One question that we always get from our viewers is, what are the benefits for investors? This means, like, what can the investors expect when they'll be purchasing the token?
Well, I like to think that the investors would be more long-term visions as we roll out the binaries and the service. This is not an immediate, hold for 3 days and sell it because you don't see price action. This is actually a hold for long term, and by holding onto this, what we're going to see is that the users can, of course, will naturally have staking pools and whatnot. And we will also create utility around the token when our binaries come out, as well as other solutions that we're offering. And we're tackling other things on the front on our products. So we have a utilization of NFTs, or the issuance of NFTs as well. So as long as you could stake and whatnot. And we're currently coming up with the different economic models around certain things of how the crypto users like in these current days, and whether it's staking or it's liquidity pooling. Of course, there's the other aspects of staking your uptime and getting emissions from there, and how much you stake, the certain levels of the emissions come out, and prioritization of your uptime and availability. And so we're coming up with different models around that.
Okay, great. And obviously, we will be assisting as the token. LA Token will be assisting you in launching it. Do
Thank
we
you.
have any dates about that? When is it going to
Well,
be?
one thing that we learned in crypto is never be specific on dates.
Okay.
And so, nice
That's
try,
a good
Javier. Nice try. So, but all I can say is, you never, you never overpromise, right?
one. Hmm.
And so the idea is, we want to be able to say early summer is probably the binary
Perfect.
release.
Great.
So it's a good
And
time.
I think then, I assume then that the notice will be in the website, on your website.
Oh, of course, and of course it'll be on our Discord and Telegram and
Great. And to our viewers also, it will be in the announcement will be made in a token and the usual channels on Instagram and Telegram as well. So please keep an eye open. We will have more news about this. And once again, if you want to know more about this project, please visit strongnode.io. We have it open here. You will find all the relevant information that you need in order to decide and move forward for this project. You'll have the benefits. You have a strong presentation about who's the team behind, how would it work, about the tokenomics. So this is a great source of information for you to move forward and make a decision. And please do follow this project, strongnode.io. The link will still be featured here in the banner for a little bit more. Daniel, you mentioned also that it is quite a unique project, and there might be different projects out there trying to do something similar. I wouldn't say the same thing, but trying something similar.
right.
What makes your project different so that the viewers can move forward and when the time comes, invest in your project?
Well, we have a different tactic in regards to how we wanted to address it. We wanted to introduce the new idea of green mining in that sense. We want to have the narrative of having be. I think any startup, I mean, doing startup and making a business around it and making money is one thing, but also being able to do all that, but also be sustainable is another thing too. And the thing is, Bitcoin, is it really sustainable? It's to be debated, right? Whether if it's really green, or it is starting to go green, but the CO2 offset of that is very large. So the argument is, you know, from the ESG method, we're trying to take old devices and reutilize them, maybe try to reduce the utilization of landfills. But if there are other projects that influenced us, I mean, I'd say Theta has influenced us a lot as well. I'm inspired by Theta. Actually, I was an early investor into Theta as well,
Mhm.
and that model and the team, that what they're doing over there is amazing. And Mitch and the team is doing a great job, and they're always innovating on that side. But we also want to take that same track, but we want to take a different approach where we wanted to not only create where it's a streaming platform, we wanted to more say we wanted to address more of the hardcore computing and being able to make that supercomputer, that virtualized supercomputer, to do processing of data and world-based problems that what we've solved when we're working at the Facebooks and the Twitters and working with them, is that a lot of these apps are CPU extensive, and a lot of the services behind that are batch based, and if anything, this is something that can actually be sold to enterprise. And so we're going to go after, not data may go through something like a consumer side, we're going to go towards the enterprise, and whereas we're going to sell it through with whether it's pharmaceutical companies or machine learning companies, or we actually have a pipeline that we can already revisit from our past relationships during the enterprise years that we were working within the industry.
Okay, great. I have a couple of questions more, and I do hope we have time for that. First one is now for the, as you mentioned before, people like me that I would have like two or three different gadgets that are always connected to the internet. When would I expect that I can join the project and actually, I guess, submit myself on my gadgets in order for you to connect to it through the API? When do you think is that going to
Like
be?
like I said, nice try again, Javier. I'm trying to get me the specific dates, but I can say probably early summer.
Okay, so that will actually happen in summer as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're not happy later. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I was just
Right.
wondering for our viewers in case they would like to actually be part of this. So the steps that they will have to do is basically download the API on their.
No, it's a binary. You
Okay.
don't download the APIs. You actually download binaries. It'll be an executable. Whether it will probably first run on Windows first, and they'll run on Linux, and then it'll run on mobile apps. It'll run on mobile, and eventually we want to get out to your TV. So the idea is any digital device that's connected to the internet that has a certain level of silicon, whether it's ARM related or Intel x86 related architecture, we want to be on that and be able to get on the device through some form of binary. That binary, of course, will need to be paired and registered to your wallet. So we actually have a dashboard. That dashboard is going to be it's actually pretty, and it's actually well designed. It's functioning right now. We have already finished that. You'll see some samples of that work coming out publicly, probably within this month, probably. And you'll see, you can kind of see the under the hood of how we've designed it. We've actually have the best in the industry designing a lot of this, the user interface. We want to take a different approach and how things feel and look. And it's not like a hardcore crypto look as well. It's from normal people who look at this because we expect Strongnode to be one of the first tokens that people will probably own. And with this, they're going to get their first intro on how crypto works. So we wanted to actually have it fairly easy to use, and so we actually have written a lot of the interface uh, elements behind it, so it's actually much more easier. Because what we've also learned, whether if it's working with Web 1.0 to Web 2.0, designing on mobile, designing on TV, is that there's only a certain level of real estate and a certain level of attention, and so and as well as how you can design for against friction at the same time. And crypto has a lot of friction, but and that's also what presents a lot of the security aspects too. So what we didn't want to compromise on security, but we also wanted
Mhm.
to find a good design where it's frictionless in that sense, and so where it has the proper user hooks in that sense.
And I guess later on there will be like a step-by-step guide on how people
Yeah,
can
of
hook
course.
up to
Yeah, they'll be pretty intuitive. That will walk through, step one, register your wallet, and we'll probably break it out in phases, of course, where we're on user onboarding. So even before the user binaries are available, we'll onboard the users as eventually you'll need to log in with a username and password and be able to show a form of identification as we are creating a supercomputer, and in order to access the supercomputer, you need to be able to share your credentials because this is a network, and it's a public network. It's a network for the people. It's a computer for the people, and it's virtualized, and be able to create a solution where people can log in and use it. And we will create this whole system from a web front end to a mobile front end to a PC front end that will support Linux, Windows, and mobile apps, and hopefully TVs soon.
Great, Daniel. Well, when it's ready, was 2 months or 5 months down the line, you're more than welcome to come here with a demo for our
Definitely.
viewers, and that would be great if you can show us one of your colleagues can show us and exactly how to do it, how would it work, what can they expect from it. I think that to show that visual, that experience to our viewers,
Yep.
they would really appreciate it.
Yep. Another good thing to note, Javier, is that we're currently living in the Polygon ecosystem, and
Mhm.
we'll be moving over to the ETH ecosystem shortly within April, and so that's a good thing. And so we'll actually have Uniswap pools on ETH as well, so we'll have a larger ecosystem to play with in that sense as well.
Oh, great! That's great news.
But
Fantastic.
as we say in our on our webpage, if you probably scroll down, we are blockchain agnostic. So we will be on Polygon, that's home, but at the same time we'll be on ETH, and we'll also be on other different chains as well in the future. So you'll see a lot of chains. We'll also create a bridge as well. So there's a lot of the stuff that we're also creating, and on these bridges. We actually own these bridges, and we actually have installed servers around the world in strategic locations where we actually can not only be those super nodes, but we can also use them as our PC servers. And the idea idea is we wanted to make a network where it allows for a high-speed network for even for crypto users as well, so they can get into the mainnet more quicker. So anyone who's a Strongnode member can get fast access into the backend network of different chains.
And will the users be able to choose which chain they want, whether it's Polygon or F?
Well,
Or,
yeah, I mean, well, eventually LA token will also have, when you withdraw your tokens, you have the choice of withdrawing to an ETH
Mhm.
address or a Polygon address. So you'll also act as a bridge as well. And so,
Okay.
yeah, in that sense, people have that choice to go to either ETH or go to Polygon or some other chain later on too. So,
Okay,
but
great.
we'll,
That's good. Fantastic to have to offer that flexibility.
yeah, but we'll also have bridges, and we'll have our own private RPC servers as well. So you can actually jack into the mainnet.
Great.
So,
Daniel, we have a few minutes left, and I just wanted to ask you one last question. I noticed that you have a very big community. I was checking your socials. Like, for example, Telegram, you have several thousand members there. Where does your community come from? Do they come from one specific geographic region, or are they scattered all over the world?
they're actually around the world. We have a lot of subgroups on Telegram too. So whether it's Latin America, South Africa, Africa, Northern Africa, Vietnam, Korea, we actually have subgroups in different languages with moderators in different languages as well. We also have the main Telegram chat where it's just there's just a general potpourri type of discussions, and I pop in once in a while to give updates in that sense. But most of the actions on Discord.
Okay.
So I recommend any user from LA Tokens interested, just get on our Discord, and we actually have different rooms around that too. And, it's more organized. I actually like it Discord better, so I think a lot more of our conversation will be on Discord. So you can see that link down there for that. So,
Yep. So to our viewers, again, you can have all the relevant community social
yeah.
media here down below. It was Twitter, LinkedIn, Telegram. So feel free to get in touch with the community. And again, you can find all this information in strongnode.io. Well, Daniel, it has been a real pleasure. It's a very exciting, very ambitious project. We do wish you the best, and LA Token is going to be there for you. And once again, if you, when the time comes, when you would like to have a demo, then please feel free to contact us. I think that would be a great thing to do.
thank you. I appreciate it, Javier, and
And then,
definitely be back.
great. Do you have any final words for our viewers today?
Well, Strong Mode is an ambitious project, but we are seasoned entrepreneurs and veterans in the tech space. And with that, uh, we're not treating this as another startup. This is actually a culmination of all our experience in life, and we're building this solution to help mankind, help be able to process certain pieces of data that takes incredible amounts of time and energy and money do, and hopefully that you could be a part of this journey and creating the solution with us and be part of the network. If you don't, we don't require you to buy our project. Perhaps later when we actually have our binaries, we require your resources, and so whether if you want to be able to purchase now and get in early and wait for it, or when the time comes and you want to be a part of our network and join and share your resources, that's another way. So there's different ways to be involved in this project. And for your consideration, please invest wisely, and as well as thank you for your time.
Okay, Daniel, it's been a real pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure as well.
And to our viewers, thank you as well. And we'll see you at the next show. And stay safe and take care. Goodbye.
Thank you, LA Token. Thank you, everyone.